Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Kickin' Bass TV. Today we're in the bait shop looking at the new 5-inch jerk from Epic Bait Molds. Going to show you the details of the mold up close, run a few different colors through them, then we'll go out and try to catch a few fish. So do me a favor, hit that subscribe button down below. Let's go. All right, guys, today we got a great new bait to show you from our friends Jason and Amanda at Epic Bait Molds. Of course, everything from Epic always comes well packaged, clean, and ready to shoot right out of the box. Today we've got the 5-inch jerk. It's a 6061 CNC machined aluminum mold, measuring 6 by 6 by roughly 1.25 inches. It is a 6-cavity mold, and while at first glance looks a lot like your typical jerk bait or fluke mold, it is in the details of the back and the tail where it really stands apart from other baits in this category. The ridged back gives added texture and vibration in the water column with a recessed channel along the top to give it a truly weedless presence so that you can fish it around heavy cover, with the tail orientation horizontal as opposed to vertical so that when thrown weightless it will fall slower through the water column. This, as well as the hook slotted belly, make it the perfect bait leading into the fall transition. First thing we did is mix up a nice bold chartreuse with some small and medium black flake for texture, a little bit of the color shift powder pigment to liven it up and give it a little added flash. Perfect color choice for stained water conditions. When you need something bright and bold to help your bait stand out in lower visibility, that's great. It's also great for displaying the details and texture of the mold, and whether you fish it standalone or as a trailer bait, one of my top color choices, especially to laminate either with a green pumpkin top or like we did here with a plain white underbelly, sort of a baby bass look. And as you can see, I kind of made the mistake as I was filming of not quite setting my injector down flush, which caused the left side to plug initially and usually would result in a reshoot and a complete waste of plastic. As you can see, no visible white on the top end, which is exactly how it should be. And as for the underbelly of the bait, really only the first cavity that started to show a little bit of bleed. Other than that, eventually corrected itself and shot the rest of the baits exactly the way that they were supposed to be. So it just goes to speak to the quality, the detail put into the design of this particular mold, and why Epic Bait Molds continues to be one of my favorites. After that, for those of you that are fishing waters with shad population, this is a highly effective color, very simple to build. Clear swim bait blend here with about 1/2 teaspoon of LureWorks violet highlight powder. Make sure you get that mixed in thoroughly. From there, we'll add about 1/2 teaspoon of the LureWorks violet sparkle flake, but it is heat sensitive, so keep your plastic under 340 degrees to maintain that luminescent effect of the flake. After that, I'll finish it off with about 1/4 teaspoon of the Dead On Atmosphere Color Shift powder pigment to give it that final layer and give it sort of a realistic fish scale type sheen. For those of you that are familiar with the popular electric shad color from companies like Yamamoto or Zoom, this is essentially a simplified take on that, utilizing the belly color, removing the transparent brown from the equation, and still utilizing that same luminescent violet sparkle flake, and achieves a great shad imitator. And it's one of those colors that, whether I'm fishing a lake that has a shad population or not, always seems to produce. Now, when it comes to the action of the bait, it's got a very nice left to right motion when fished in a traditional jerkbait twitch style retrieval, and because of the flat horizontal orientation of the tail, it's going to fall slower through the water column, which is exactly what I'm looking for when rigged weightless, which is my preferred method of fishing them, which is a perfect bait leading into the fall transition. But while we've still got some warmer tail end of summer temperatures to deal with, and some of these bass still holding along the banks in some of these shallow areas of cover here, we're going to be throwing it weightless right up against the bank and just letting it kind of float slowly through the water column. And first one here, just a young first-year class, aggressive young male here, and you know how they are. They came up, even though they're barely bigger than the bait itself, hammered that thing so hard that we ended up pulling it all the way through the body of the bait. But as you'll see, as soon as we toss this guy back out into the water, because of both the durometer of plastic that we're using at Kickin' Bass Custom Baits and the fact that this bait is just very well designed with a little bit wider gate here, we were able to pop that right back through the line, stick that nose right back in, line that hook back up, skin tuck it real quick, just like that. we're good to go on that same bait. So we're just gonna toss that back out there weightless, continue to work the outer perimeter of these reeds and toolies as the transition starts to hit, and we also have some overcast conditions today. These bass are going to be a little more likely to be out in the open, feeding more aggressively. For that reason, the jerkbait's a perfect go-to bait, because whereas I would usually be throwing a swim jig all the way up to these reeds to punch down into them, today we've got them active a little bit farther out because of the reasons we just mentioned. So while the first two fish were just a couple of first and second year class smaller males, it's definitely a good start. It goes to show you the effectiveness of this one simple bait, and it did not take long to get into some bigger fish with them. For this one, we switched colors to that clear shad imitator that we showed you a moment ago to demonstrate how even on a lake that doesn't have any shad, and the bass won't be keying in on a shad profile, it's less about the bait profile, more about color selection and light play, because with 3 to 4 feet of visibility in the water here, there's enough light penetration happening under the surface for there to be some light refraction with the transparency of the bait, as well as additional flash from both the luminescent flake and the metallic quality of the color shift powder pigment. So even though we're on a lake that has zero shad whatsoever, the fact that that color shift powder pigment gives it that oily, kind of realistic fish scale kind of sheen definitely adds to its ability to throw some additional flash underwater, which is great this time of year, regardless of the time of fish with bass are foraging. Another great way to utilize a 5-inch jerk is as a trailer bait. In the summertime, one of my go-tos is a swim jig, because really great bait for pitching into shade pockets along reeds and toolies, things of that nature, and they're great at getting through heavy matted vegetation. We've got 4 or 5 feet of so in front of us here, so as opposed to a bulkier paddle tail style swim bait that we typically throw on here as a trailer, this sleeker design of the 5-inch jerk lends itself to cutting through that grass easier. And also here, where 90% of the time I'm utilizing a skipping technique to kind of finesse that jig up to that perimeter of the reeds here, that's why that sleeker tail design is so effective here, because that little variance in profile and action underwater is just all it takes sometimes to increase your numbers. So while a soft jerkbait might not be the first thing that comes to mind when most people think trailer baits, when it's tough out there, don't be afraid to mix it up a little bit. Experiment with your profiles. Add a jerkbait to your swim jig, chatterbait, or even spinner bait. You might be surprised what you come up with. If you're a fellow bait maker and you're interested in getting a hold of one of these awesome molds, click the link in the video description. Head over to epicbaitmolds.com where you can grab one of these or any of the other awesome molds they have to offer. If you're not a bait maker and you just want to order a couple custom packs of the new jerkbait, click the link to the Kickin' Bass Custom Baits Instagram page, also in the video description below, where you can send me a message and let me know what you need, and I will get you taken care of. If you enjoyed today's video, hit that like button for me. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Make sure you hit that notification bell, because that will keep you up to date with our new videos and giveaways. Until next time, I'm D with Kickin' Bass TV.
Subscribe.